Parlementaire, the Honourable Minister of Heritage.
Well, I thank my colleague for making the most, for wasting 10 minutes making the most obvious and unoriginal observations about representation by population I've ever heard. Mr. Speaker, he talks about being respectful. Of course there's a debate to be had about democratic reform, but over 13 years the Liberals didn't offer any solutions to representation by population or about any kind of democratic renewal reform of this confederation. And, Mr. Speaker, what my honourable colleague, of course, fails to recognize is that, for example, my province of British Columbia has 6 Senate seats. His home province of New Brunswick has 10 seats. Yes, of course, Labrador, with a population of about 30,000 people, has their own seat in the House of Commons. Of course, that's going to be a fact. Of course, the territories which have smaller population bases are going to have their own seats. Of course. The question here is, how do we get better balance? Pure representation by population per riding happens on a province-by-province basis, is administered by Elections Canada. But the goal of our bill and the goal of our government is to get us closer to where we have parity and representation in the House of Commons. We can't have absolute pure. That's obvious. The honourable colleague doesn't have to waste 10 minutes of the Times House saying something that a grade 6 social studies student knows. We know that. But what the question is, when will the Liberal Party stand up against the Bloc Québécois and ensure that people in my home province, the province of British Columbia, the fastest growing province, can come closer to having a fair share and a fair set of voices in the House of Commons to represent their needs, just like other folks do, Mr. Speaker. And what we don't need in this House is this member standing up and saying we should be respectful, but he started off his comments by saying the reason why we want to have more seats for British Columbians is so we can have less voice from people like Acadians and official language minority Canadians. Shame on him for using those kind of tactics.